All right, well, yeah. So me and Ryan were just talking about some of Cheyenne's motivations and stuff, and we thought you wouldn't be interested in that stuff, so just thought we'd talk about that before
Dude,
you get.
that's so disrespectful. I am 100%
No,
I
the
did
only
is disrespectful.
The only person uninterested in women's motivations here is you, Mike.
Dude, first off,
This
let's
again.
pause. Not only is Mike, aka Business Mike, aka the real Mr. Green,
Mm.
but also he is berries. And I know
Oh,
about,
As a father,
as a father, I've learned through my licks, my beatings, what to do, what to say. So don't you dare judge a book by what you think is its perceived cover, Ryan.
thank you. That's a lesson that only a father could know.
hello everyone, and welcome back to the Economy of Nothing podcast. I'm Mike Bedont, and joining me, as always, Ryan McDonald. Ryan, how's it going?
Going just.
Where's your mute protocol now, motherfucker? And over to Mike Allen, who was ready to talk.
Back at you again, Mike Allen, aka the real Mr. Green. Just here to talk about the show, motivations, character development. Ryan's really good at that stuff. Mike Bedont, plot points of whatever the fuck we're talking about, which who knows what it could be. This is how an episode is created. We've created thousands of episodes like these now, and you're just getting the inside scoop to how it's made. Ryan,
The Rewatch Podcast.
would you like to add anything?
I should say, welcome to the Economy of Nothing animated series rewatch podcast, where we rewatch it so you don't have to.
No, my thought is that I should go by Mike C or something. It feels like there's some kind of symmetry missing there.
I always, yeah, we could be like, I don't know. Someone will have to email us in at economyofnothing@gmail.com. Economyofnothing@gmail.com.
Yeah, what a plug.
What a plug. All right,
so-
everyone.
As the narcissist that I am at times, I listened to the last week's episodes of the podcast, and I was having a good time. And there was
At times.
a moment where Ryan said something, and I think it explains why he can't ever be in the car. And he really doomed himself, and I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was something like, we were talking about the Rangers, and you said you disagreed with it, and Mike went hard back, and y'all were laughing, and I was like, this is why Cheyenne doesn't have a place in the vehicle. I gotta go back and listen to it, and maybe I'll bring it on the next one, but I think once you hear it, you'll be like, yeah, I'm not in the vehicle. It's like,
Well, so
This
I
is
haven't.
why Cheyenne has her own vehicle. She does
Cheyenne
not need a man. That's the point.
does have her own transportation. Now, the car you're talking about is the Moonshine. That is the ship of the Moonshine crew. Captain Raymond B. Tracy, Mr. Alvin Michael Green, and the two Rangers.
yes.
Like Cheyenne is in a different one. So at some point we have to decide what her car
Let's
looks like.
decide
But I
right
told you
now.
guys
It's a
before.
whole car thing, baby. What's Cheyenne driving? What's she wearing? What's she rocking out of the apartment trying to make, I don't know, Space Aliens jealous? What's she rocking?
Well, I think that the truck is an anomaly, right? More or less. Like the truck is like some weird side thing that the captain had retrofitted. Right?
Yes.
So if we go by the canon established last week, the captain fell asleep drunk in his truck with his dog and somehow got slingshotted out into outer space. And so I had thought that it had maybe been an original, it's like a unique thing that he has, but also there's everything or whatever. So like there's other ships I've built that do kind of look like cars, because there was a point where this was like a lot more 1940s space, and it was going to be like space fights were going to be like car chases. But then I thought, I think space fights being like space fights would be more interesting. But if other people have wanted, you know what I mean?
Well, immediately my thought is that Cheyenne thinks that she was the original and that the captain is copying her on everything
I
he
like
does.
that.
So like he calls it
Okay.
so he calls it moonshine because he likes the like moonshine container that he has down below for some moonshine. But I think that her vehicle is not a truck, but it's like some kind of like orb or like perfectly. Because have you seen the theory crafting of spaceships? How like they should have propulsion on every angle,
Yeah.
like every side, because in space you don't have to deal with drag and like there's no such thing as directionality per se. Anyway, well, so I think that Cheyenne's is just like an orb or something, and I think she calls it sunshine.
No,
I think it's
off,
painted
dude.
gold.
You're not riding it.
No. I think
Whoa,
it's pure.
hold on.
I think it's pure gold. I think
You are-
Cheyenne's vehicle is
Oh.
pure gold. He calls it sunshine. She thinks that the captain copied her, and hers is gold. His is like silver or red or whatever, and he's like moonshine is silver, and that's second place anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Well, the
That's
That was a
moon's
fine.
long way of
First
saying
of all-
or look shiny in a orb.
I do.
And also, did I mention it's bedazzled?
Good dad. I want unicorn rainbow sparkles.
There's a horn out the
Yes.
front. My horn,
And she can
you
shoot the
pierce
horns at her
the
enemies.
sky.
But the horns go
And the horn is where
Yeah,
the laser is
and they
coming
go
from,
straight for
sure.
the
Yeah,
dick.
yeah.
Okay.
just
Just to be
Right.
very clear, I am going to prototype
I couldn't
this.
agree more.
So can we get the real details
that's
down?
it.
Is that okay? Okay. Well, you're gonna have to say them slower and more articulate. All right. So it is a golden sphere. How large? Like so, just large enough for her crew, or there quarters in it? How big is this?
No. I think that she thinks that like the captain's like weird. The Rangers needing to sleep just sitting up is unhinged. Like this is. I mean, it's not as
What do you
big
mean
as
the
like the
Rangers
Millennium
sitting
Falcon
up?
or something, but there are levels. I think there are levels to her orb.
So
I
the
think there are
giant-
levels to Sunshine.
Is it like a? Is it
No.
like a? What's the Doctor Who thing where it's different sizes?
Whoa. Can she have
The
no,
TARDIS.
what if it's a swoop
It can
of-
be. God, if it's too big, it can't fly next to it. It has to be same as size. So can it be bigger inside than it is outside?
I have it. I have the perfect. I have it. It's a cross between your orb thing that's clearly not going to happen because why the fuck would we do that? Number two.
That is the easiest thing
yeah.
to animate. No
It is
doubt.
the easiest thing to
And
animate.
number
Mike.
two is
Hey, business
Cheyenne-
Mike, get your head out your ass.
Cheyenne, instead of having orbs with layers, she has the equivalent of Russian nesting doll, but in ships. So like it's a ship within a ship within a ship within a ship. And you can build that up later. Like whenever you're like, how will they ever get out of this situation? Like Cheyenne has another ship. within her-
It's
It's
a
weird.
ship.
Yeah.
Right.
I
eh?
just literally drooled as I
Ryan
heard
just
that
did-
statement.
Right.
I had to cover my mouth. Oh my gosh, because yes, that's exactly right. They're Matryoshka dolls. I actually know the word for Russian nesting doll. They're Matryoshka dolls. She just moves in this orb, like, but it's not an orb. It's like a Matryoshka doll, and then it's kind of like, you know, in the Enterprise, there's one episode where like they're fighting the Borg, and then the Enterprise disconnects because the saucer can move independently
Right.
from the base, and then
They
oh
pull that
my
move a
god, it's
lot.
just like it's nesting doll.
So like each bridge has
That
like
is
another
so
little
fucking
bridge.
crazy.
Is that, it's like
That
there's
is
always
so
a bridge that
unhinged.
can detach.
Yeah, like the centerpiece is like the emergency like I was gonna say ejaculation pod. That can't be
We can
right.
make-
This is a
I'm
family
sure we can go to
show.
a planet where there's just like a bunch of vaginas that need fertilizing. Like we need the ejaculation pod. If we're gonna stay,
No, so yeah. So in the core is an ejaculation pod, but the rest is like an ejection pod. And then it kind of builds out to like I do think that she is like an actual Star Trek-esque like crew kind of setup in
Okay.
the largest version of it because it's like an official
I definitely-
regulation and she thinks that the captain's truck is fucking
I think that
stupid.
you definitely should have like a crew of at least 5 people, 4 people, probably whatever's easiest to animate. But you definitely need someone that isn't you driving it, and you
Absolutely.
need somebody
Mhm.
because she would believe if the captain is anti-weapon and Mr. Green is like, I'll fucking kill if it gets me home for dinner. And Cheyenne is like, I'll kill because it's the most logical thing to do, right? Or like within your given guideline. Then you need like a guy running lasers or something. And then probably like,
Yeah, I like the
I think
idea
she
that
would
her,
be-
Mr. Green. I do like the idea. Mike and I were talking earlier because, like, in Mike's view, the captain and Mr. Green are like the pilot and the captain. There's like two roles that they occupy, and Cheyenne fills both roles. That's like
so
the
wait, maybe
base
I'm
line.
confused because I've always thought Cheyenne
But
was
no,
like,
here's
"You
the
help
thing. Here's the
us.
thing.
You also want to do your own thing. You know what I mean? Like you're like a Peter Quill-esque type, but you'll kill, but only if you think the means are justified. Does that make sense? But I can be wrong.
Does Cheyenne kill? Cheyenne feels like, after what we've talked about, Cheyenne fucking murks people.
Cheyenne
100%.
kills.
You don't-
Yeah, Cheyenne
you don't-
kills.
You don't have the glowing orb rushing nesting doll idea of yourself and not kill. You know what I mean? You've come here.
Yeah. For sure, she be killing. She kills people. But I think that she's
I
think
Ryan, I know
that-
she's the typical woman. You need plausible.
she's a
You need
typical woman.
plausible deniability.
A murderer.
To kill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Someone steps on her toe.
gotta have a
Someone
reason.
looks at her shit
Yeah.
the wrong way. She killed. And I think that's where the rushing Nessendal comes from, because she turns to the weapons officer and says, like, if looks could kill, and the looks of the doll do kill.
Yes.
Because that's where the lasers
Can I-
come from.
Can-
the eyes of the
Can
doll.
it be like so in my mind it's kind of like like, it doesn't look like, but if you imagine like a pharaoh's sarcophagus, and like a gold pharaoh sarcophagus, like flying through space, and then like
Mike, no, I'm sorry. Honestly, it looks like a Russian nesting doll. I don't know what else to tell you.
exactly like a Russian
I
nesting
think
doll.
of a babushka, but like a nicer done babushka.
Literally.
Like, a nicer done one,
can't-
but just like very serious.
Is there
Exactly.
a chance that it could?
But also a babushka that is her
Yeah,
face.
that's what I mean. Like it, but like
Yeah, like it's
Yeah,
Cheyenne
but around-
herself, because they're painted on. So she paints them on, and I think that Cheyenne is both like Captain and Mr. Green in like the roles they occupy, like the required roles on a ship. But I like the idea. Mike and I were talking earlier about this. Like she's kind of like taking both roles and taking both of their
Yes.
profits in a
Yes.
job. But I like the idea that instead of like a Mr. Green, like a co-pilot or pilot, whatever, I think her like person that's constantly there with her is the munitions officer.
so
It's just like the war machine person that's constantly like blow them up. Like every time all this person says is blow them up. And she's like, that's a great idea, but we might have to just think about this one extra thing. And then what else I talked about with Mike is that in my view, Cheyenne, she's like really interested in money. Like her and Mr. Green are kind of like on the same page about the funding, but I think that Cheyenne doesn't like has a rotating group of interns that are unpaid. Instead of like the Rangers, she has like unpaid interns or whatever that she brings in so that she like gets more of the profit for herself. Basically, she's like climbing the ranks so high because she's personally profiting so much.
Are
So
you banging your unpaid interns?
I can confirm nor deny this.
Cheyenne likes
It's
to
a
keep
woman.
her personal life first.
I do.
She's a woman, Mike. That's all you need to
think-
know.
So
So
here's
she's like the Meryl Streep of this universe. She can do no wrong and everybody loves her. I understand that. The only thing that I would alter on that is that whoever is like your number two, since you're so smart and everything, has to be a complete dum-dum. Like it's
Yeah. I think it's just someone who wants to blow up everything.
Well, like something like that,
Like
but also
every-
just kind of like idolizes her so much that is willing to just be like their Dwight. You get what I'm saying?
Okay,
Mm.
as long
Yeah,
as
yeah.
the guy is always like, let's blow him up, let's blow him up, let's blow him up, until like the finale when obviously the only answer is blow him up, and he's like diplomacy, and it's like, all right, this guy has to go. Like he's no good anymore. Like,
And we
Or that he always suggests it but never brings the grenade. It's like this dude definitely has the grenade.
he's
but he's like,
unpaid.
you always say no.
we should blow- we-
unpaid. He was an unpaid intern.
So-
Look, I'm not going to go expense that. You're not paying for it. We're in space.
Cheyenne's Cheyenne's spending her cash.
Okay, this is genius. Cheyenne's figured out as
So,
far as I know.
I have a couple. Can I ask a couple more questions? 'Cause I've only actually gotten to ask one question.
Okay, also, we were supposed to talk about the structure of the podcast. and
we'll
so
deal
far,
with
this has
that
been
later.
absolutely
Okay,
nothing of the
so-
sort.
All right, so it's Russian nesting dolls. It looks like Russian nesting dolls. I have a question. Can that be like it's like attack formation, and then like it kind of lays down to fly through space? Because then we can
Yeah.
have a fun reveal of it the first time.
Like a line.
Then the first time it gets to like go up, and you're like, oh, it's not a ship. Because a Russian nesting doll, the booster could come out the back for like down the bottom for big space travel.
I have a question.
Mike Allen
All right,
stands up.
what if you have the Russian nesting dolls, like you said, but when you fly, like when you're just sitting solo in space, they all come together and clamp down into one. But when you fly, they all come out of their thing and it makes like a line. But the way you go through space is that you like do some freaking, I don't know, vibranium force and move like a snake through space. And it has like a little glowing orb around it. Then you little big deal. When it moves, because it's moving, it's using centrifugal force to move through space or whatever. Who cares? I mean, it's like,
Okay, first of all, this man wants the human caterpillar going through space as Cheyenne's spaceship. That is fucked up. That is okay.
Star Wars
I
has
do like the
whales.
idea that it snakes through space, but I feel like the reveal should be that it expands. Like I think that the captain and Cheyenne should be in a situation. In my mind's
But
eye,
if it
you know,
looks
like
a
the
Russian
hypest
nesting
things-
doll at first, it will not be surprising to the audience that it expands like a Russian nesting doll. So it has to you have to have levels of reveal.
But I think that like the reveal should be in a combat situation where
this dude
like
like
the
wants to kill.
doll.
It's always combat with you. It's always just
Okay,
to rip.
okay. So the combat, but like imagine if the captain or the rangers are like, we're fucked. There's only two of us, and then the doll just like dunk dunk, and then it's like it's not like 3v2 or 5v2. It's like 20.
All of a sudden, they're all surrounded.
Yeah, exactly. They just like swarm the ship. And I feel like those are like the hype moments in my mind of anime and Star Trek and shit, where it's like the fleet has just arrived, but imagine the fleet is like
It's just
just
Cheyenne.
Cheyenne.
And her
I like that
interns.
idea, and I like the idea that the weapon on each ship gets bigger the smaller it gets.
Yeah, and I think that actually, as we're talking about this, she uses like 20 free interns because like each person has to man a different of the
Oh.
ships. So her away party is still like 3 or 4 or whatever, or just 2, her and her munitions expert. But like in space, there's like a whole a Starfleet crew of unpaid interns.
I have a question. I have a question that I think can go with this really well. Okay. You, as in Cheyenne, in this scenario, you have 20 unpaid interns. I am totally down with that. They don't have to all be on screen. Mike can they're like your minions, right? They could be the same guy copied a million times. And they,
Can they be little goofy
Right.
aliens?
no, it could be whatever, but just
No.
listen, just
Okay.
She's a racist. Did I not mention?
just listen. This is where I think it comes better into character development because you think that you have 20 unpaid interns. And this is where the captain and Mr. Green differ because we're like, dude, she thinks she has like people who want to work for her, but she's really just a cult leader. You know, that's our attitude towards it because who would work for free? So we either think you're banging your unpaid interns or you're a cult.
It could be a harem. I'm not.
Well, I
against
think
that.
I think the cap that's the thing the captain is doesn't respect, right? He's like, she has 20 people working for her. What do you mean? Like,
Yeah, I think you
she
said
didn't do
zero, it
that. 20 people
Yeah.
did that, right? Like,
Yeah, that are unpaid.
oh, that pharaoh built that great
cult.
pyramid. No, his slaves built that pyramid.
Wait, but what was it? Was that the end of your idea, Mike?
Yeah, because I wanted to tie it back to because I think every character, just like as our people, as we have an idea of what we all think that character should be, but then we have to think about well, these characters would also have different opinions of the other characters and the way that they see themselves. So I think it's just like adding the layer to it and kind of, an interesting dynamic because the captain has to have a reason why you're not in the vehicle. You know what I'm saying? Because if he loved you, you'd be in the
Right.
vehicle. But we have to have a reason to not want to be. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Green thinks a lot
He
of
doesn't
himself.
love Cheyenne. Oh,
Well,
I'm
no,
just
that's
kidding.
how Cheyenne
No, yeah, I
thinks.
think.
And then Mr. Green,
Well, I think
yeah.
what Mike and I were talking about beforehand too is that I think Cheyenne is like trying to rise up in the ranks of this organization, which the captain doesn't really respect. And her primary focus, like Mr. Green wants cash, and like she does too, because the company wants the money. But I think she has like a kind of ambition
power, dude.
to
She
scale.
knows that money is
right? Like,
power in this universe. So that's
yeah,
the shit
exactly.
about
Because yeah, exactly. And then also, I think that Mike and I were talking about like a secret motivation. We first threw out that her mom had cancer, but I was thinking also that maybe she runs like an orphanage or something, that she has like on some like alien planet. She has like a very like sympathetic
listen, we
reason.
come back to her. That's a bit on basis point at this.
Okay. But you can think about it, because I think Cheyenne has. Well, I talked about My Hero Academia and how there's this one like young upstart hero who wants to make money because she wants to help her parents' business, like their small business they have. She's like, oh, I have gravity powers, so I can just like make their business profitable. And I think that Cheyenne like has some kind of like sympathetic-esque motivation, but then when you slot her like young, oh, you could join the nothing company and you can make a lot of money and you can do this. It's like, well, what does she want the money for? And I think that she kind of like wants the money for something nice, like something like sympathetic and beautiful even, but she's just like ambition. She's like lost in her own ambition of rising the ranks, so that when she gets to these confrontational positions with Mr. Green and the captain, she is like she's against them, or she's like, she is the outlet of the org.
Yeah.
That's like, no. We're not like doing whatever you want to fucking do because you're like a good person. We're like here for a purpose.
I agree. Everyone has their motivation. I think it's a great motivation. I think we'll spend a little
And I
bit
think
too much
to the
time
point,
on Cheyenne at this point. So let's get.
Yeah, and that's so true. Fuck this. Let's just call it the Cheyenne episode and move on.
I think we should move back to something else. We spent 40 minutes. I think 20 was bullshit, and then 20 spent on Cheyenne. Maybe we'll move on to.
well, in all fairness, Mike, 16 of those minutes weren't spent by you. But I started recording before you got on, so the time is not the actual episode
Well,
time.
that's even more reason why we shouldn't talk about Cheyenne. Motherfuckers weren't gonna talk.
Because we're just repeating. We're repeating the conversation we had before.
Oh, Mike,
It's
I
wild.
wasn't disagreeing with your point that we should move on. I was just disagreeing with why.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one thing I did think that as we start the podcast, however many minutes into the podcast we're starting it, I thought that like this week we should probably like just like at least at the very top, because we haven't like we've talked a bunch about the show and like we haven't really like talked exactly about what the show is, but I feel like maybe the first thing we should talk about is like the podcast, just like its basic format, right? Like I like the idea that we can start like just going into whatever we're doing, but like it seems like that we should leave it with some outcomes. And I think that if we talk about the layout of the podcast, then I can talk about like the scheduling of the podcast and how like there's places in the schedule where we can like put things out and how we should like work around that, if that makes any sense.
It does make sense. It makes a lot of sense. And does it make sense to you on how boring all of it just?
I do, but then we just said so many jokes about jizz earlier. Remember
fun
that?
to talk about
Hey,
jizz.
listeners,
Just
no one. All right, so like right now, what we have right is we're recording on Wednesdays, and then we're recording on Wednesdays, and then it releases the next Tuesday, right? We feel pretty good about that, right?
Yes. Okay. Anybody that knows how
Yes.
to join a fan page or whatever, anything, subscribe to any.
No, I'm talking to you. Right?
I'm talking to the
you two.
audience. It's not you for talking about this because you're insulting them.
Okay.
You're thinking they don't know how to.
This isn't insulting. I'm including them. I'm not insulting them. I'm including them.
Insult.
Everyone else is insulting them when they tell them what they want.
Audience, what do you want? Please vote.
But,
Poll
like-
that we'll eventually have.
So what I'm like, the real question I have is that, like, at a certain point we're going to need to like start, I'm dropping the video versions of the episodes at certain points at different places. And so my real question is, like, to you guys, like, what day of the week would be a good week for me to drop something for the two of you on YouTube that I can know that you'll have watched it by the next Tuesday, right? And by that time, then that would make me think that the general viewer would have X number of minutes to have gotten a chance to watch it, right?
Are you talking about?
Well, here's the thing, right? If you're talking about the podcast, like, I wouldn't re-listen to what I've already said. But you mean something else? You like some other
When we start
free content that we would then talk about?
When we start breaking episodes on the podcast, I'm going to start making story. Okay, I don't want to, this is an audio podcast, but those are not nice hand gestures, everyone.
I'm being mocked. I'm being attacked. I'm being disrespected.
Shy, get it together.
This is how
this
women
is
are
why
treated
not
on this show, everyone.
Well, sorry.
This is why they are in the car.
Anyway, so let me show you.
You're
going to send us a video that we need to see.
You two need, you guys are conflating 2 points right here, right? Like, the first point is that, like, the point of this podcast is to make the TV show. And at some point, the conversations we have out of this podcast are going to become visual things that people need to watch and look at. Two of the people that need to do that are you, so that the next week we can talk about what I did. Because I'm not just going to do stuff and then not have you guys watch the things I did and talk to myself about the things I did that no one else saw. That's why I'm doing a podcast.
To be fair, I do watch your stuff, just not in the.
I know.
Yeah. No, I get what
But
you're
my
saying.
point
I
is-
get what you're saying. So if you're saying
Friday's a fun day for a YouTube
Dude,
video,
send
and then
it to
people have
me
the weekend to
as
watch a
quick
YouTube
as you
video.
can, because that gives me more.
We
to
need
watch.
I know, but that's not a schedule. As quick as Mike Allen wants something is not a production schedule.
I understand that, but like, what day does this go out? Tuesday? No, this goes out.
So the thing that we were recording right now will go out next Tuesday.
Okay, so then send it on Wednesday. We will watch it Wednesday.
But then I would have to do it and edit it all tonight.
Yeah.
No,
No.
is the answer to that question.
No, Mike, but it doesn't need to be that way, because we're going to talk about it on Wednesday currently, right? And then you have however much time you have to make. Let's say we talk about Brenner 7, like the fight on Brenner 7, whatever. And then you have a week to do it, 6 days, 7 days. It could be 14 days. It could be 21 days. However long you want to ruminate and iterate on what we've discussed. And then whenever you send it to us, we could look at it. I mean, I can watch like a 2-minute YouTube video, even in the context of this podcast. We could open up being like, here's the clip. Here's the thing. We could literally watch it together, and then we could be like, this is what we're discussing in the next hour. So it could be right
I think
now.
that'd be more
I
beneficial
think
than
that
me watching something without you guys watching.
Yeah, we could even watch it together. And I don't think that there's like a schedule in that context. What Mike Allen said is not like his own, like, oh, however quick Mike Allen wants. It's however fast Mike Bedole would work on it and iterate it and produce something that you think would be applicable for our feedback. And I think that's your own schedule. If you wanted to, like, realistically, let's forget that we have a million subscribers on YouTube. Let's imagine that it's just the three of us. However long it takes,
Listen, I'm just trying to
and that's
recreate
fine.
the first conversations we had for people as they're rewatching. Okay,
Mike,
what
that
I
was a
mean?
decade ago.
I
don't
I know.
wanna
I
do that shit.
forgot. I forgot what we
5
agreed
years.
on. I forgot. I forgot what we
But
agreed
we're
on.
going to Mike A's daughter's quinceanera.
Honestly, if this just
I
is a
can't- I
podcast
can't
of us
make it.
talking about a show that takes like 5 years to take off, like, then that's awesome, because I think people would listen to that, because what else is there? You know, like, it's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Literally, this is the backlog,
Yeah.
baby.
I know, but like in a planning the head way, like the best version of this is that the thing that we talked about on the podcast, a version of it comes out the same day, right? So if we break a storyboard, I then have 6 days to put up the podcast and a storyboard on the same day. Hey, listen to the podcast, see what I did with it, and then the next day we discuss it. So we can watch it at the beginning of the episode. That's fine. Like this isn't about whether you guys watch it, right? It's about like what would work as a flow for a person to ingest.
So here's where I'm gonna business here. Okay. For what I'm hearing right now is that Mike Bedone wants to take the lead on the production schedule and how it goes. In order to do that, you're gonna need to be more direct. And we're not gonna take offense to it. But you're going to need to send us the video whenever you want us to watch it and say, I need you to watch this by the end of today. Like, and that will make sure that me and Ryan will watch it. That means we'll see it come through, watch it when we're on the toilet, we'll watch it when we have free time. We know, but when you just send it to us and there's no context other than like, you're like, oh, this is something I made or something like, I don't know if that's just you archiving more like assets or something. And like when I'm in work mode, like, but if you're saying this is for the next stages, then I absolutely will take time out of my day, stop what I'm doing, and watch it. Because I know it's important. I know that it's going directly into this.
Okay, so all right, so then that leads to the next question, right? Which is like, what is the flow of the podcast, right? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, we've talked about Cheyenne enough, but have we talked about Cheyenne enough? I don't know. What's the next topic, right? Mr. Green. But like, the thing I wanted to say when we were talking about Cheyenne is like, this character motivation stuff, like, as I think I told Ryan, right? It's not important that we nail down whether Cheyenne's mom has cancer. It's important that like we know that Cheyenne has these motivations outside of the conversation. And it's important for us to like know this. So then when we go into like break the Brenner 7 scene, like there's like, we understand, or a different scene, because I guess Cheyenne's not even in that scene. But like we need, it's about understanding what the characters have going on in the scene before and the scene after and stuff like that, so that like we can play in the moment, right? Because now we'll know, now that we know all that stuff about Cheyenne, it makes it so much easier for you to think of a conversation Mr. Green would have with her, right, Mike? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I think what you're saying, at least the way I'm hearing it, is that I think it's a different processes and creative flow. Like I see the way that you're going. You want to have like certain segments to hit within the scope of when we do this. Whereas I'm looking at it as like I'm more of like build context, rift to get all the different thoughts of each character. So that when it comes time to build those structural scenes, we have the characters nailed down of what they could be, what they want to be, where they could go. And then like when we're writing it, it's a little bit more fluid and fun process, as opposed to this like start here, end here, this is the scene. Like I see us like building the scene through like the concept of just like reading like the whole story, the whole episode, because I think that's where the fun shit happens. But I get from a time standpoint that's really long. I don't know. Just
see, but I think
I
think Ryan wants to jump in, but like the thing I'll say is like you're right, and the answer is that like there isn't a right answer, right? So like the answer is the answer that like gets us all moving forward, like as close. Like obviously I'm moving forward faster because I'm insane, right?
Yeah.
But like, but like the point is like, part of doing this is like I've reached my limit of what to like. Okay, these hand gestures. I don't know what's going on.
I'm trying to get Ryan to be like,
I'm being
trying to tell
taunted.
Ryan, like he is insane, right?
Oh, I don't know. I think Ryan thought his mute was so
I'm
good that
sane.
you just invisibled yourself instead of muted yourself. But that's okay.
I meant to.
I like that this is
Now I'm just talking to like a barcode going across the screen when Ryan talks.
The little waveform. That's okay. I mean,
You know what?
not much to look at
That's,
anyway.
for the record, that barcode is Mr. Green's
Dude,
speak.
you know what? Scrap,
I'm giving
scrap
Mike
all
a-
the Cheyenne stuff we just talked about. Let's just make her an AI and just put her little voice code box like that. That'd be way easier. She could be in the truck. She could be in the radio of the truck.
Everyone listening to the podcast right now, I need you to know how hard I fought for these women. One wants them not to exist. One wants them to be an AI. It's disgusting.
Well, like if you remember, that's like the original reason for like Mr. Green's mouth thing is because I didn't know who if you were gonna voice him, what was gonna happen. So it was like, oh, well, if he has a thing, worst case scenario, it can have an AI, right?
Yeah.
That's why he's Al Green and everything. So I don't know. But it's easier, but it's not better. So like it's better to have human voices say stuff.
Yes.
Well, okay.
And you're
Let me chime in on the conversation
Yeah, sh-
before I
sorry.
went off
The radio is
screen
talking.
for a moment.
No, he's back. He wasn't shushing you, right? Oh, these bits.
Fuck
These
you.
bits.
No, okay. So here's what I'll say. When I was starting to write a book years ago, no big deal. It's still outcoming. Maybe y'all will see it one day.
You can
What
do
I
it in the
did was I
publishing
was-
arm, you know.
The publishing arm. Okay, so what I did was I was looking at how you write a book. And one of the things that you do is come up with the characters, and people have like insane backstories for these characters. Like they know what their favorite color is, they know what their favorite song is, they have playlists for these characters. There's a lot going on. That's just like a synopsis of a lot of shit that goes down, right? So what I saw at the time was 36 questions that you would ask someone who you want to see if you're in love. Or there's like some kind of love questionnaire. Is it BuzzFeed type shit? Maybe it is. I don't know. Whatever. Long story short, I did this with just like generating content for myself, thinking about like, if I'm this person, like, what's their motto? How would they want to die? What's their biggest regret? And like, what does that say about the character? So long story short is I think that like what Mike Allen said to me, I think is a good jumping off point for a lot of these things, because as much as you, Mike Vidal, whatever, know about the characters and know about the captain, and we know about Cheyenne, like in this instance, like, do we know if she has a mother? Do we know if she has an orphanage that she's taking care of? Do we know why she wants her money? And we don't. And
I thought
think
you were gonna go and turn it on the captain, who's Mike Vidal, but you kept going with Cheyenne, and that's what I had to cut you off because it's like,
okay,
okay.
fine. Forget
okay, we
Cheyenne.
get- Cheyenne has
Like-
an orphanage. Fuck off. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, fuck Cheyenne. Okay, let's talk about the
It
captain.
doesn't matter. All right. The point.
I think, my point, Mike Allen, is like, if what we do with these first 5 episodes or 6 episodes or 4
I know
episodes,
the point
if
you're
we
making.
just-
We should do this for each character. Yes, tomorrow, the next one should be Mike Vidal, captain. We're going to start with the captain. Me and you are going to question the hell out of him. We're going to figure out the parts of the captain doesn't even know. The next episode, we'll do Cheyenne, and I will go last as Mr. Green. But it's going to be a roasted your character. And we're going to break down. You're going to get what you think the version of your character is, and then we give our versions of what your character we think is, and then we kind of compromise and make that character. And then we even scrutinize it more by asking it questions in certain scenarios. So it's like a roast, but of like defining who the character is. And since we're all playing those characters, it shouldn't be that hard to develop what they are, because they'll be zany and funny, kind of like, but they'll be real. And then once we have,
yeah, I mean, he said it.
will be.
He said it perfectly, everyone, except Cheyenne goes first, obviously, as the main
I'll
character.
be honest, we need to break
No.
from Cheyenne to let's do the captain one first.
So
No, but yeah, I think that maybe per your conversation about the podcast, Mike, like that's what the first episode should
Yeah.
be. Or like whenever we're done with this, like it should be like, who is the captain? What is the captain about? What's his favorite color? Does he not have a favorite color, and why?
Yeah.
You know, like what's his blood
What's his
type?
potential
In
backstory?
Japanese
You know,
culture?
like what?
I-
Nail it
Yeah,
down.
like yeah, all of
Yeah.
that shit.
I mean, I did have the
And then like build that out, because we need to know about the captain, because then like, what does Mr. Green bring to the table? And wherever that conflicts or is too much of the same, we need to like, no, actually, Mr. Green needs to have like a contrast to the captain.
Yeah.
So do the
It's almost like
Rangers. And I think those are like
your
the key four.
characteristics are creating your rule set to how you act in this world. You know, like if it's like Mario Party, in every Mario Party,
it's like an RPG.
you have a dice block that is specific to your character that isn't the normal 1 through 6. But that's how you interact with the world, right? Through your characteristic. I'm just saying we do that. Like that way we would know when Captain doesn't want to kill someone. Well, it's either going to be Mr. Green or Cheyenne. And why would you?
Or if the Ranger, like, imagine if the Rangers do it. Like, what would that, if the Ranger, like, what would make a Ranger kill someone that the captain didn't want to kill? Like, would the Ranger, are the Rangers capable of killing? Would they do it to protect the captain or protect Mr. Green or protect the brother or protect someone else? Like, I don't know. But I think, like, even if the captain was like, we're not killing anyone.
So
and the Rangers do,
great,
or someone else does, like,
Captain,
what's
let's
that
hear the
mean?
captain's viewpoint on this, because I know he has one.
The captain does have a viewpoint on this, but the thing I was already stuck in my thought, so I missed that last part, so I didn't hear. Sorry.
No, we're just talking about, like, in this example.
No, I heard the whole thing
but
except for the setup, because the only reason I was thinking is because I was pulling up my computer. I was trying to find out, as you had looked at your things, what the things were on the codex pages for the characters, and like what sort of information I had already thought was information that we should know about people going into it. And I'm wondering what sort of overlaps they would have. And certainly this could probably play into the thing that I was thinking, is that like, oh, well, one of the first things we should be doing is like getting these character pages up to snuff, which this seems like would also do, and create like fun content where we're doing a thing. Like this seems like, okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we could literally start right now with the captain.
All right, I think I have some captain answers.
Yeah.
But per Mike Allen's point, it's like in this first clash, like, is the captain at odds with Mr. Green? With Brenner 5. Brenner 4.
So I would say at the start of the show, everyone is like where they start at the start of the show. So the captain and Mr. Green, I got you, Mike. The captain and Mr. Green are like, they've both agreed to work together, and the captain's more on board because it was his idea, and Mr. Green's not on board. But their relationship's mostly fine, right? It starts straining as they go out, as the show goes on and on, right? But like, I think one thing we do need to remember as we're going through this is that we're talking about these characters at the start of the show, right? And we need to like, and we can talk about where they're going to go, because I know the captain's whole story and stuff. But like, we have to determine, like, we can't be like, this person's a coward, but they're also brave. It's like, okay, well, what are they in episode 1? They're a coward in episode 1, right? And we'll bear in mind that we need to redeem them of that cowardice later, but they're a coward in episode 1 or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
But isn't that going to be really, here's like I kind of have heard of this theory of tentpole writing, where you create interesting or provocative or like just hype moments between characters or in the plot that happens every so often.
Yeah,
right? So
that's how I write.
There's like an author, Brandon Sanderson, I think it is, who said that like he has these like moments of like really intense interest that he imagines for characters or for like a magic system, and then he like builds up to them. So in my mind, based on what you just said, well, we can wait for Mike Allen partially.
Well, no, it's fine. But like, no, to that exact point, I agree. I agree till the very end. And my point is that like, instead of building up to them, like your story will build up to them, but your process is to build out from those moments, right? If those are the best moments in your story, they should be the most coherent, the most readable, the most they should be the best moments. So like, that shouldn't be the moment when there's a plot inconsistency, right? That should be the moment you're focused the most on.
Yeah, and that are character driven. So in my mind, what you just said is like, I'm picturing Brenner 7, whatever the number is where Mr. Green agrees with the captain because Mr. Green is loyal to the captain. And I'm picturing the end of season 1. Let's just say, like, the climax of season 1 is a moment where Mr. Green and the captain are at odds with each other because of some motivation. I don't know what's happening there, but like maybe Mr. Green's
they're at odds with each other by
vanquished.
episode 7. I think episode
7.
Episode 7, Plan A. Mr. Green's already mad and he already wants to go back to doing salvage jobs. But then that in episode 7, I believe that's where like the job is like rigged by the corporation or something like that. So like Mr. Green finally sees what's going on with the Nothing Corporation. And then I think that leads into episode 8, one of my favorite episodes, Die Hard on a Space Elevator. And there's some really good scenes in that, in a diner with the captain and Cheyenne, where the captain's trying to get Cheyenne like on board. And it's also one of the first times he's really trusting like Mr. Green out on a mission, which, I mean, cliffhanger for the middle of the first season there, but things get a little hairy. I might have had my numbers off.
I'm in the codex of nothing right now, and I just want to put under the captain's personality traits what might be thought was important background stuff for a character.
I would also like to point out that these were mostly filled out by
Well, first off, Captain Raymond D. Tracy, age 36.
Solid name.
Role, Captain of the Moonshine, comma, Savior of everything. Okay.
That is what it was called at the time. I think we should change the name of it. In all fairness, one thing I will say in the captain's defense, he always says, that's a misnomer. The place was called Everywhere. Everyone just says it wrong. Okay?
Ryan, what do you think about this?
Ryan's muted, so he doesn't think anything.
I think it's a really interesting inlet for all of our viewers into Mike's internal mind. I think that's really compelling.
I would like to point out that like Mike Allen's the only person who thinks it needs to be like an accurate representation of
So, but no, here's my question. Savior of everything. What if everything is nothing?
Well, yeah,
Well, but
that's the
I think that
That's
is
the
like
point.
the interesting
Okay.
thing is that there's like I am interested. I find it compelling that the savior of the universe or whatever, like I don't know if any of us have seen Star Wars Episode 7 or 8, but imagine that
taking
like
my
the
headphones
savior
out.
of the universe, aka Luke Skywalker, turns out to be like some random hobo living on a beach.
So,
You know, it's like that's like kind of an interesting scenario that we find ourselves in. So I don't mind that the captain is the like former savior of everything. And like in this, in my mind, like savior of the universe is above admiral and general.
so
And then you go into like, you know, lieutenant, captain. What's the actual structure? I don't know. I'm
So
not a military
it's just-
individual.
this is how
Well,
I
let's
see
just
the
say
savior
that, like,
of
this-
everything. This is how the captain of mind.
Okay, yeah, go.
The
Okay.
savior of everything. He's the savior in everything in the sense that
save
comes
Mr.
back
Green's butt.
to work because he misses the attention. But it's been so long that he has worked, and even though he was the savior of everything, nobody cares. So it's kind of like the way in Archer, he goes like, I'm the world's greatest seated grenades all the time, you know, and everybody just makes fun of him. He is, but he's so cocky about it that people kind of hate him. And I think Mike's version of himself is that everybody loves him, and I don't think that makes a good character. I honestly don't.
Well, no, but that's not the version. The version of the captain is that like he thinks it's dumb. Like he thinks it's dumb that he's the savior of everything. But like, if you guys are gonna call him that, can something come with it? Like, I don't
You call him
understand. Why do I have to feel like
You called him savior of
What?
everything. I didn't type this in.
the universe did, Mike? What do you
So
do?
you're chosen by the universe, is what you're saying.
The captain gets brought to the distant future. He's drafted into the Robo-Human Wars. In the final battle at Everywhere, something happens, and him and Mr. Green are the only two survivors. And Mr. Green's an alien, so he doesn't
So
get to be a
Mr.
hero.
Green is the only one that knows you're the savior of everything. That means that everyone else in the universe would just think you're a fucking cocky asshole, even though that you are the savior of everything. Am I wrong?
Yes, but no, everyone else does know. But Mr. Green knows that he didn't really do anything. He just grabbed Mr. Green out. So that's why Mr. Green's always giving him shit. But what Mr. Green doesn't know is that he's a secret fucking robot. And then the captain saved all of robotdom. But no one cares because no one can know. Not even Mr. Green, the guy he fucking saved.
All right, my question is
Okay, here, let me-
this universe interacting with you, not just me and Cheyenne, because I mean, there's going to be people in this universe that we're going.
Like annoyingly, he's
Okay, I'm
he's
just
the
making
kind
sure.
of famous where he gets nothing out of it except for bothered, right?
Yeah.
He's like a high school quarterback who still has to work at Home Depot, but people are like, "Hey, wasn't your life great in high school?" He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks."
Okay, Mike. So the way you're talking right now is the way I want him to sound. You're,
Yeah,
yeah. I
yeah,
want
but
him
you
to
remember,
sound
like this is an
that anger
in-universe
and
codex.
frustration in his
Yeah.
voice that it's just like nobody.
He's like, can we just do it right?
Saved your asses. Like that's
Yes,
what I see. So
and
okay.
he just wants the respect so they can do the job right. He doesn't. He just like, can we just do the mission, please, for the love of God?
Okay, all right. So I
Well,
think
let me also chime in
I
with
think
a
we gotta
piece of
nail it down,
media
Ryan. I think we
that's
gotta nail it.
okay.
Well, let
great.
Ryan
We have-
chime
we
in with a
figured it
piece
out.
of media. Wow.
Do you see how he traded on this?
Do you know how much of this codex?
I know.
we
I've
have
been like
left?
this for
We're just on the first
decades.
one. But go ahead.
Do you like how it says rotate it when you look at it on your mobile phone? I had to
It's kinda
program that in.
annoying,
That's
to be
pretty
honest
good.
with you.
Well, otherwise you wouldn't have known to do it. Okay, this is called. You know what? This is.
Mike
don't
is
know.
like the savior of the
To
universe, and he's
next-
not getting any
the
respect
next part of the
right now.
codex. Go into
If
it.
anyone would like a metaphor,
Personality. The captain's personality is charismatic. I think, or you know, it seems like you're pissed off.
and so by the way, that's one term. That's not three different terms.
Charismatic, romantic.
A charismatic romantic pragmatist
Pragmatist.
is like a
So does that mean that
Ryan
you
would
were
like it.
charismatic
You'll
enough
have to
get
Google
laid
it.
by every chick, which I like that angle of it. But you're also a pragmatist in the sense that like you also could like get yourself in trouble all the time.
Like he's trying to convince people that like to do the right thing, but like it's actually just like the efficient thing to do. But or it's the other way around. I can't remember. But like it's basically he's like I don't know. I'd have to look it back up. But like the definition of it, if you Google it, it's the perfect
Or
definition
give
of
me
what
a
I'm.
character in another show that would resemble that quality.
No. No, I can't. Like so like the point was, and I could look all of this up, like the exact thing, but like this is the question, right? What does that mean? I don't know. This is just like this is like when I looked at every single like kind of like fictionary codex and stuff like Ryan was talking about. I was like, this is the stuff you need to know. And I was like, well, what's his personality? So I like looked up a bunch of professional personality types,
Okay,
and I picked
okay.
them for people.
So he's like, I look at this as like a Kelso. Is he lovable? He's charismatic. I don't know. His pragmatist. What is that, Ryan? What's that word? What's the definition of that word, Ryan?
Ryan, do you know what we're saying? Have you heard any of this as he leaves the podcast? Yeah. So no. So like there's a lot like weird like writing words that people use to like describe writing and stuff like that. So like for the personality traits, I was trying to find those kind of things.
Well,
but like that becomes my
I'm
question.
just wondering if do you have?
But like I don't have like I'd like to have a better answer.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing as like it doesn't make any sense for age to be there, right?
Yeah.
Or does it? Because they don't have like space ages, but also I'd like people to generally know how much older other people are than each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, personality's fine. Affiliations, Munitions, Creed, Ethic Corporation. That's fine.
Right.
Episode appearances, all episodes. I mean, yeah. I don't see what.
So if you click on his name on that page,
yeah.
I need the like it opens up a bigger page.
Okay. Subject Raven D.
But like
yes, yeah. I agree.
But you don't need to read this stuff out because this is all placeholder and like not super accurate.
Okay.
But like I think a thing we could do for like if this is the track we want to go, I could fill this out as like accurately as I know the universe to be true. and then we could talk about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Would that like make a better sense?
Okay, hold on. I got lost into. Sorry,
I know
was
you
lost
really.
in one of my Matryoshka dolls collapsed on me. It was brutal.
Yeah.
Okay, so charismatic romantic protagonist. That's the last I heard, and I muted myself to try to chime in, but I was like, it said the page was unresponsive.
All right. Well, this is the answer we were looking for the last 4 minutes.
Well, no, I think that the Kelso conversation is a really good one, actually. If people are familiar with Scrubs, I'm assuming you're talking about Dr. Kelso versus Dr. Cox, and I think that like Kelso
just
is
got
kind
that.
of Kelso is the pragmatic version, and Dr. Cox is the romantic version, I think. So I think that like the captain kind of has this juxtaposition of wanting to think that people do the right thing, but there's like the pragmatism that people have more material concerns on their hands than just like, let's do the right thing.
Yes, the captain has to use his charisma to convince people that it's more than a good idea, that it's also like an efficient idea or a way that's going to make them more money or something through his like charisma, because like,
well, but that's all, but I have to say that's all the structure of the economy of nothing in the view of this show.
Yes.
Where the captain is forced to like reduce morality to efficiency.
Yes.
Much like a different world that some of us inhabit.
Yes.
Is that like there's this kind of like better thing that one could do, but we all live in this like pragmatic world where that's not going to be the outcome that we're all facing. So I think that like the charisma part is like, oh, the captain is charming. But I think that the conversation of like, what does this all mean for the captain? To me, it's like, is he always just like, is Mr. Green or Cheyenne, are they supposed to be the pragmatic counterplay to him? Or is he supposed to be like going to the Dragon Queen or whatever example we exist in this universe and saying, you have to understand that like I work for the Nothing Corporation. And if you fuck with this, like there will be hell to pay.
Yes.
You
And
know
I
what I
think
mean?
I think to your point, like that's like, and that's a contention that Mr. Green will eventually get to. Mike's brought up before with the captain of like, hey captain, like if I'm standing behind you with a gun, you're not carrying a gun, right?
So
Like when the captain's like, let's all look at this the right way. This is the most efficient way. You should listen to me. This is the best way. But also, the Nothing Corporation will kill you all if I leave. Just in case you were curious. Like, do you know what I mean?
the way
So it's not like, you know. Like,
the way I see
Sorry,
what you're
Mike.
saying in a translatable character that I can think of is that you are the space version of like an Archer meets Ron Swanson, because like you think that they take down the Nothing Corporation
Yeah.
is by making the Nothing Corporation as inefficient as possible by working for them. And that's what pisses Mr. Green off, because it's like, I can never figure out why you won't take the good jobs. And it's because you're secretly just trying to, like, I'm bored with it, but I also like want to get paid, you know? Because
I've never
Yeah.
thought of the captain plan as so underhanded before. But like, I never thought of like his like efficiency as like clogging their efficiency and like I mean that's what he was doing, but I never thought of it as like
if he could go,
an active plan.
Yeah.
And Mr. Green, and he's like, Green, obviously, like, you know, trading places, we're gonna get the orange futures early or whatever, right? But like also Mr. Green's like, but if what you're doing, if you just did it the way they're doing, you would just be making the money just now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I think
with
that-
all this bullshit.
that method could lead to a lot of like hijinks and adventures type things, because it would be like, well, if let's say in a sense that like we go to the worst job and we head to this planet and you're like, I'm gonna fuck this contract up to where they never come back here and ruin these people's lives again. And then we do that, but then they're like, but we got like one more thing. We got this like kind of this dragon that like comes into town and eats people all the time. And like, did you help us out one more time? And I'm like, Mr. Green goes, dragon. dragons usually have gold. We should help. So it's like me, and you're like, yeah, we want to help. We want to do the right thing. But I'm like, yeah, we should totally help. I want to get some of that gold, right? Because like Mr. Green's motivation is, well, I'm here. How do I get paid? I got to make the best of a bad situation because you're always going to take the non-profitable route. And I think that those are motivations to why we get into the adventures.
Yeah, Mr. Green is pocketing shit constantly.
Yeah.
Like, I think we've talked about it before as his outfit becomes more and more like Indiana Jones, that he's just like pocketing shit throughout the galaxy. Like,
Well, but isn't this something that eventually the captain learns? Like, it feels to me that the captain, as part of his arc, should end up, or at some point in season 2 or 3 or whatever, should be having this contrary opinion to the Nothing Corporation. I don't know if I think he should maybe always start out like being good, but I think that maybe through the process of him doing good, he should acknowledge in his own mind that like Mr. Green's maximizing profit of an endeavor might mean that doing good, like the do-gooderness on a planet might mean that something's less profitable. So eventually he's like, oh, if I keep doing good, this will be an unprofitable venture for the corporation. So I can like save the universe like planet by planet. Because they just won't see the profit.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I don't think that like Mr. Green's motivation is strictly, yeah, but like the reason that he is because he's got mouths to feed, right? So it's like, yeah, we can be. It's so the idea of Mr. Green and the captain's relationship is like they're friends, but they live in two different worlds, and they like the same things, but they go about it vastly different because of the different levels of responsibility attached with it. So I think it's going to be a constant, like, where Mr. Green, like, let's say, lose a couple planets, and, goes optimistic with it and comes home with the loot, and then it's like, okay, I got enough to pay, a year's worth of mortgage. I don't have to worry as much. And then the captain slowly over time pulls me to good, but I will only stay good until I need to pay a bill. You know what I mean? So, like, I think that those need to pay a bill episodes are the good, like, in between fluff episodes. Like, not every episode can be the captain in the universe,
And I think like that's another thing that at some point we'll have to like get into is like the other show that is there a dispatch show? Like, is there a dispatch show inside the show? Like, there are episodes that are like pretty, like Brenner 7's pretty stacked to the brim. It's like got all my ideas in it, right? There are other episodes where I'm like, I don't think I could only follow the captain for like 8 minutes here. Do we have other people to do stuff? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, so like,
and I like the idea of the characters, like, in general, because you're following them in so much detail. Like, there's gonna be times when like I don't want to go on, right? Because they're always like super long or something like that. Or I guess what I'm saying is there'll be like cuts to where like your character's over here doing something and then cuts to, your character over here. Like, we're all separated, happening at the same time, right? But then we all together at the end. Yeah.
So I guess like the question would be when you talk about Archer, right? Like Archer very much like, I mean, it changes, right? But in like the first, or it changes throughout, but there are definitely episodes where it's like, there's clearly like a mission part of the show and just like stuff happening back at the building part of the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like are or aren't related. Yeah. So there is like, so I've created like a bunch of like like when we talk about like how much motivation, there's a bunch of characters that have like no motivations at all, but it's like, oh, someone needs to die in the Midsummer Murder episode, so I'll make him up, and so he's going to be in all the episodes before it, so you won't know who dies, and then of course the guy who murders him needs to be in all the other episodes, you know what I mean? So they have to go to the dispatch so we can see those guys at some point, kind of thing.
So can I ask you guys a question? I feel like just in this episode alone, we've learned a little bit more about the captain's motivation and how he interacts with the world. I think Mr. Green's is pretty clear. And I think we've learned the most about Cheyenne today. I think that I think we all got like a pretty good foundation. I'm not saying it's rocks solid yet, but I think we can build upon and then kind of see what the secondary characters' motivations are, and then how we can interact with them. Like if you wanted to talk about Grasshopper or I don't know, isn't there like Butterfly?
Well, I'll let Ryan see if he has to say anything because I have like 2 ideas. But Ryan, do you have any ideas?
No, I mean, I think that makes sense. I think that if we have the characters established, like the main, to me, the captain is the main character, and then Mr. Green is the secondary character, and then the Rangers are the tertiary. Or like, there's like a tier, like S tier.
Yeah, there's
or
Shaggy
S
and
plus,
Scooby, dude.
S, S
We use them
minus.
for
Yeah. And I think that like establishing those perspectives is really good, and creating the tent poles for where they disagree is pretty important. I honestly don't think at the end of the day that like Cheyenne is the most like plot relevant character. I think that she's useful insofar as like if the captain became a kind of ambitious individual, this is what he would become. Or if the captain didn't, like, to me, like Mr. Green prioritizes his family over like solidarity. And in my mind, the captain has this kind of like engendered or emergent solidarity with the entire universe, where he's like, you can't fuck over these people because then it does this to this person.
Yeah.
And I think Mr. Green is more like, per an Andor conversation, not to have that one, but I did just see a trailer for season 2 and I'm fucking hyped for it. Holy shit. Okay. But like, I think of the captain kind of as this like fallen hero, and Mr. Green or Cheyenne are like the versions of in Andor. I don't know who they would be, but like they're like the rebellion.
Yeah.
Like in the opposite way, they're like dealing with the practicalities of life, and so is the captain after, or in this case before for Andor. Like there's this whole structure and apparatus that exists before Luke just shows up as the hero. And I think the captain just shows up and is like, becomes the hero of the universe, like through accident or through happenstance. And then people who aren't there, per what Mike Allen said before, they're like, Luke, they're like, oh, you were the guy in the X-Wing who like blew up the Death Star. Like, okay, that could have been any of you. Like, good for you, bitch. You're not like the protagonist of this story. Your dad wasn't Darth Vader himself. You don't have the Force, bitch. Like, and maybe he does, but like the people, like Mr. Green in the Robo-Human War was there when it was just Lars Anderson or that Swedish fucker's name was. You know, like he was doing this shit before, and I think Cheyenne was doing this shit before. I think like other characters in the universe were like a part of the rebellion. They were in Andor, and I think the captain was Luke Skywalker, who then is not Luke Skywalker anymore. They're like, oh, you're just some dude who says that he like can push things. Yeah. Like, good for
Cheyenne
you.
and Green are like, dude, get over yourself. You know, like
yeah. And they're like, you were given a medal. You were given a medal on Yavin 4, but like, where's your medal now?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't mean anything.
The captain's like, guys, this is not the point I'm making. Please, the fact that the captain saved the universe is not the point the captain's trying to make. The captain's trying to change things now. We're not talking about the past.
Cheyenne and Mr. Green are part of the rebellion in this case. This is weird, like post episode 6. And they're like, oh, we're just in the economy of nothing. We're in the corporation. We're making money because like we have to keep things moving for the people on the ground.
Like,
and
imagine if Luke Skywalker had been dropped on Aldani. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I just think
we have a different story.
I think personally, the captain and Cheyenne, in my mind, like the captain has his version of saving the universe, and Cheyenne has her version of saving the universe. And Green thinks both of them can't save the universe, but you can do a little good and you can make a little money.
And not necessarily
also
in
because
that order.
Green, because Green's universe was also lost. Spoiler alert for the fans. Like Green's universe is lost, and I think that's what makes him. Not to get into this, maybe it's next episode, like getting him more into Green, but I think he's like this really tragic figure because of the position he occupies, a la relationship to robots.
A la potential secret robot spoilers, right? No,
like-
but I think that I really like all that stuff so good. I don't even know what to say, but but yeah, I think maybe what the play is honestly is like, well, I mean, the play is just to keep going and keep talking about stuff. So I don't know why I'm like, and the next move is definitely a move thing, but I like making moves. But like, maybe the idea is like a scene with like the three of them, right? So like we can just like flesh out like I've written a scene. It's really old. I don't know if it's any good. I don't remember what it's about, but I have a scene that's just the Green, Cheyenne, and the captain like talking about like the turning sides or whatever. I don't particularly, but like maybe we could like look at that and like see if any of it jives with what we think about the characters or what we don't think about the characters now or something like that.
Yeah, I think a fun segment too in the future. I know you really want to get on the scenes. We're gonna have to fill the show with people in the background because it's weird if it's just another scene, right? Like, I do like the creating some characters that are just around and maybe don't have a purpose right now. But like,
they very if you keep scrolling down that humans page, there's like 35 people.
oh no,
We have of course the Rangers. We have Ranger Christina, who is one of Cheyenne's Rangers. We have Ranger Monica, who is one of Cheyenne's Rangers. We have Captain Red Hooks. We have James Francis, who's the administrator of the dispatch. We have Clive Piers Joan, who's the IT specialist
why
at
is this
the
Clive
dispatch.
so like
We have
chic? Like, why is the IT guy?
because my mom wanted him to be like a British dandy guy. I don't know.
Okay, that's
Sometimes I
fine.
let other people
Tell
make
me,
characters.
Yeah, like what? Okay, that's even more. Why is he British and dandy? And he's IT. I love
So he can
Yeah.
be anything.
everything else. Just go.
Haven't you ever seen the It Crowd? They were British.
So keep going.
Dandy and chic sounds like a euphemism for good.
Well,
That's
my
all
mom
I'm
grew up at a
saying.
different time, right?
Yeah, she did for sure. You were like, I think you're talking about someone queer, and your mom goes, "Oh, pink." Okay, bitch.
Tallulah.
Then we of course have Tallulah, the receptionist at the dispatch. She works for James Francis. Lance, he talks to the bears, the members of the Pooh Crew. We don't know a lot about him, but no one else wants to talk to the bears, so
I
it's
like
a job.
Lance. Lance gives me like some Hank Hill.
Dude, I have a lot of stuff to say about Lance. That a lot of fun, like weird, like when you're like, oh, what's these background characters? Fucking Lance has some shit going on.
Yeah.
He's not the first Lance. Anyway,
Captain Red Hook twice.
yeah, then Mars, and then you come down here, and then there's us, and then more characters. But of course, there's aliens, there's creatures, there's robots.
Hey, Brian. I love Bryce.
And I got to make your little
I know,
character.
yeah,
I
I know.
don't think it was a personal slight against you. I've been a little busy.
It's fun. It's fun.
I think that the character excavations are really useful, per what Mike Allen said earlier. And I think that also the other two should be the Rangers. I think that that's like I mean, like I said, I think it's like 4, but maybe 5, I guess, if we want to include Cheyenne as characters that we really need to like figure out what's going on with them. Because I think that the Rangers dynamics would also give us a lot of clues about what's happening on these planets and like why they're there, what they're doing. Is one of them interested? Is one of them disinterested? Because at the end of the day, however much good the captain wants to do, he has to look out for 2 children.
So one of the, and
You know, like financially per Mr. Green
yes,
and otherwise. So when he's like, when the captain, for example, is like, let's give the dragon egg to Group A instead of Group B. Mr. Green is like, well, my kids are going to starve.
right.
Your kids are going to starve. So, like, we're going to get fucked. And is that a compromise you're willing to make? And then I think the captain, whatever they decide is whatever they decide. But I think also since the Rangers are there, it feels to me very imminent that they develop ideas. So I think like the season finale to me is sort of like something to build towards with these motivations and think about what that is. I
Yeah,
don't know what that
I
is.
definitely think that like the Rangers do need some more. Like for the most part, like I have a lot of stuff mapped out for them, but it is pretty rote stuff. Like this one likes this and this one doesn't like that, and then the next time flip up which one likes which thing in a way that's like interesting, right? So like the one that's the tech guy is the one that's afraid of robots because that's more interesting than him being the one that likes robots, right? You know what I mean? Like and like then oh, what's an interesting reason for why that is, right? And it's like, oh well, he understands the technology that he understands more, but like the future techs more, you know, of the robots isn't something he was like taught in ranger school or something, right? And you get to but yes, I think this is a good way to go. You guys have me convinced that going through character motivations is the way to go. So I think that will probably be what I'll be thinking about and focusing on this week. And probably, at least for Captain Tracy and the Rangers, I'm going to go through and fill out their pages like the best I know so that like we could like.
Well, I think
at
it should
least
be
go
a
through those.
document, Mike. Honestly, like the one I sent you. I mean, I could resend it to you. I
Or
literally
it could
have.
be publicly available on the internet. You can just look at it.
Okay, fine. But also,
it is not, I'm sorry, economy of nothing. It is not easier for you to find a fucking Google Doc than remember economyofnothing.com/codex. Fuck you.
I was just looking at
like, it doesn't. The codex is irrelevant to what I'm talking about with you of figuring out your own character motivations. I sent you. Do you remember this Google document I have, by the way?
Yeah,
I'm
it's
looking at right
so
now.
long.
It's called
It's
For
so
Mike.
long. I know.
This document was
I've read
sent
it so
just to
many
you. It's called For Mike Main Character Questing. There are 4
I know,
characters.
there was more
and it
main
goes through-
characters than I wanted to quest.
Mike, you have like 1,000 characters in your show, bitch. I hate to tell you, you're gonna have to quest on at least 4, and that's how many are here. You can edit it as you see fit, but it's crazy, bro. You need to
Okay.
figure out their favorite colors, why they're fighting. Are they into rebellion? Their blood personality type. You know, in Japan, blood personality type means a lot. So that's all.
In the distant
Our
future, it
listeners
means
already know.
nothing. But
Now.
okay, so I think
Space Scurvy. What are your thoughts?
Space Scurvy, it's out, Mike. They're skeletons. How do they get scurvy?
Why does it matter?
Again, but also the space scurvy is how they became skull. Like that's like that's the folk tale of where the skull pirates came from. Is they were regular pirates and they were out in space and they got space scurvy and they
It's
got
lack
all
of
deformed or whatever.
vitamin C deficiency. Because there's no sour
Yeah, Mr. Green's always talking about
sour-
vitamin C.
in the future.
Maybe some people think they went through a wormhole. They were brought from a different place. They survived a black hole, but really they didn't. They just have scurvy.
You know, we'll have to talk about
Let the
whether-
viewers decide. We'll put up a
Wow, peak much. You know what? We will let the viewers decide. They can decide at patreon.com/economy-of-nothing, economy-of-nothing.com, or send us an email at economy-of-nothing@gmail.com. I don't think there's any other links. YouTube, check out YouTube, Economy of Nothing on YouTube.
Also, our other
Mike Allen.
partner channel, Interventions.
Wow, Mike, you're gonna really mess up my data there by promoting things. 50 subscribers by only telling you guys.
check my socials at pseudonym.com.www.https. Okay.
I like we can add it to the friends and benefits page on the website. All right, everybody,
No,
thanks for joining us. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Honestly, you're welcome.
Okay. Good night.
Like, by some rule, right? Since she's a captain and a pilot, she's
Yeah.
able to get an additional ranger or something, right? She's like, it's in her budget, her staffing budget now or something.
Yeah, I think that, but like, I'm imagining that she's like getting paid to be the captain and the pilot.
Right.
I have her like, yeah,
So,
like
and like
taking
clearly the third ranger is picking up some of that slack, right?
yeah. But I think that's the thing is that she's like doing it as like a cost cutting metric or like her own
Yeah.
profit basically. But she doesn't see the kind of like fallibility there. Or she just doesn't care. She just takes it to be like an economic fact. She's like, well, you're wasting half of your take because like you have a pilot.
Yeah.
Like you have Mr. Green. Like, what are you doing with him?
Yeah. No, I think that's a like, especially based on like last week when we were talking about like what's everyone else's motivations, right? Because I've been thinking more about like the captain's motivations too, like off of that of like, and like, well, if I'm asking you guys to more clearly define their motivations, I should be able to more clearly define the captain's motivations, right?
I agree. Yeah, and I think that like with Cheyenne, she's like, "Oh, I'm a girl boss," and you know, I mean, obviously not in that way, but she's like, "Oh, I'm breaking the glass ceiling. I'm doing this shit, and like, I'm proving that like I can be like twice the person you are, or like twice the like employee that you are, and also have a kid at home."
Right. You think she does? Do you think she has a kid at home? I hadn't thought of her. I did thought of her as too independent for such things, but like maybe she doesn't bring it to work.
Yeah, I feel like she has like it's giving like Hawkeye, I think, you know.
Oh, she has like a
I feel
secret
like
farm family.
yeah, I kind of like well, I think the idea of like wanting money is there's an anime that I really like called My Hero Academia. We've probably talked about it plenty, but also I'm not sure if you are familiar with it. Anyway, there's this character, like it's a middle school for heroes, and they're like actually middle schoolers. It's crazy. But I guess in Japan, maybe middle school is like 16-year-olds.
Well,
They seem a little mature.
Like Ash Ketchum. It's crazy to think. Like I think about now as an adult. Wait,
Yeah,
he was
he's
supposed
12.
to be like 12. Like in my mind, he was so much older as like a kid. You know?
No, I just heard the perfect synopsis for Pokemon, which is like, in Pokemon universe, you just send out your kid as like a quasi orphan to go and bet on like battles to the death with Pokemon. Because when you beat someone up, you take their money. It's like you're like wagering.
There's like wild like dystopian stuff in there. Like I can't remember what it is, but like one of the electric guy, Surge, he's like a lieutenant or something.
Oh
And
yeah, from a war.
his dialogue, which of course I never read as a kid, is apparently just like him talking about like the like Pokemon wars and stuff. Like,
well, there was a war that happened, but like no one knows where.
That's why no one has any dads because they all talk the war and stuff.
Yeah, it's really absurd. Well, no, anyway, okay, wait. So in this anime, in My Hero Academia, there's one of the heroes, like the heroes to be, who this 14-year-old, 15-year-old girl, she's like, they're all going around giving their motivations, and she's like, I just want money. And then it's like, okay, and everyone's like, wow, Ochako, like, I didn't take you to be a greedy bitch. And then throughout the course of like the episode or 2 or 3 arc or whatever, it comes out that like her parents are kind of poor and she can use her powers. She's like magical, right? So, and a hero, so she could use her powers to like make money to like support her parents. Blah blah blah.
It's
So
the Weasley
I think
problem.
that Cheyenne is basically that. Is like there's like a sympathetic motivation like buried deep down, but then when you slot in the sympathetic motivation into the structure of the economy of nothing, it like becomes not polluted or corrupted, but it's just like, oh, she's just like a greedy asshole.
Right.
But like not like with a heart of gold, but like with some intention for this money that's not just like that is outside of the structure. You know, she's not like, oh, I just want to keep making as much money so that I'll be the CEO. She's not that level of girl boss. She like has some other aspiration.
Well, because that's kind of, it's interesting you say that because I hadn't really thought of her like that. But as you start like describing her, I'm like, oh, well, that does put her in a lot more conflict with stuff. And
yeah,
especially when I start thinking about like her like big introduction in like episode 2 or whatever. And I start thinking about like the Dragon Egg heist episode. And like that makes the stance I've already given her in that episode more interesting, right? Because in that episode, technically, she's the one that's supposed to be taking the side with the rebels as opposed to the monarchy that had like originally given them the job. So it's interesting now thinking of like, oh, so that can be the altruism can also be hiding like another motivation that is, oh, well, no, she's in it, but she's not in it for like the company. She's in it for herself and like a different thing, right? Like,
Yeah, I think that she's like, I have like a different idea of a character in my mind for this, at least. I'm not sure exactly the archetype, but like she's trying to rise through the ranks as like her top motivation to like prove herself. But like the way that is structured in this system is profit and like money, and it is an economic proposition. So like the better like job she has, the more profit she has. She has like this kind of like external motivation that's separate from she just like wants money, I don't know, to like give to her parents, and like her mom has cancer or whatever the fuck, like something that she's like taking care of.
yeah,
But also she like wants to like be the best.
right.
And
I think,
I think that gives like a different, so that she can like shift into like being a good person sometimes, but that's not really like she and the captain shouldn't just be like, oh, we're both always like good people. That's kind of lame.
I mean, I I prefer that. I thought that you were going to want to make her a nicer
No,
person.
Mike. No. Well, I mean, I think that like she can be a nice, I think like ultimately she is like a good person, but that's her arc.
Right.
Is to like learn about the goodness or to give into it more. I think because there isn't much of a story if like when they have the dragon egg, everyone's just like, well, we just give it back or whatever. Like,
Yeah, right.
That's not really like that compelling. And I feel like she has to be like a foil to the captain in some way. And I think that her foil is like, she's like a demonstration of what success in this organization looks like. And then like she can climb up to a certain point, but also it would be interesting if eventually she's like superior to him, or like if she is literally
Right.
his superior and she's like, I'm not your boss, but I'm like I have more authority when I step onto this planet than you do within this structure. Like I've been vested with more authority. So
And I love the idea that that's a great thing to like eat at the captain too, right? That's like the that's like the one of his like craws is like, okay, but like I am the captain, everybody. So if we could just like remember that time I saved the universe, if we could just one speck on my side of the scale, please.
well, but it's funny because he's the captain, but like he's just a captain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's the captain of his own crew, but his crew is like 2 youths and a robot pretending to be an alien. So like it's like, who are you the captain of? You know, and the verses, I feel like we're Cheyenne. It's interesting if she's like, I mean, it's not a military outfit, I guess, anymore, but if she's like a general or what, like whatever this like system is, if she is like climbed up above him and she's like, I'm fucking in charge of you.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't do what she says because her motivation, like her and I feel like her and Mr. Green will agree more
Right.
than the captain will.
And I think that's
Kinda.
I think that is like kind of the fun of like the captain thinks that like, okay, you two are you guys are on the right side of both of the coins or whatever. So then you guys will agree with me in the middle. And then this will be a great mission. And they agree with him on the opposite sides of what he was talking about or whatever. Right. Or disagree with him, I guess, on the opposite sides. But, one of the things you said that I like think about a lot is you're like, and then her mom has cancer or whatever. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like such a throw off thing, but it's a real thing. It's like, no, that it's something like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? We don't need that answer right now, but now that we've said it out loud, the next time we're thinking about something, it's like Cheyenne needs to do something. It's like, oh, we need to either give her mother cancer or come up with something else, right?
You know, I think actually that she should be funding an orphanage and she should only accept interns that are above 18. And I think that she should basically like be mad that the kids are kids.
Right.
Because she can be like overly protective of them and think the captain is like a fucking idiot. And like she can have this kind of like, why are you like endangering these children? Because like I'm funding something to like protect kids or something.
Right.
I think that might be more interesting than a mom.
Yeah,
honestly.
I think her as a mom is like kind of a little boring, honestly, right? Like
Cheyenne, no, as a literal mom, I don't mean like a literal Hawkeye.
Yeah.
I think something like that where there's just like a planet, and imagine that episode, like a planet of Cheyenne's like orphanage.
Right, they have a mission. Like, there's always this. I like the idea that there's always this thing that Cheyenne's like, and something brings them there. Right, it's always this place she's doesn't tell anyone about. Like, no one's allowed. Like, it's not a thing she talks about, but like something in the plot like compels them to go there and confront it. Is always like a great, story.
Oh yeah,
mode.
yeah. Like either like they just have this thing on the planet, and then like next episode, Cheyenne is like, "What the fuck were you doing on Brenner 5?"
Yeah.
And he's like, well, there was this orphanage," and she's like, "Do not go back there," or something. Right. I don't know if she's just like wants her private life private or something, or she could show up and be like hiding it. I don't feel like she would bring it up to the captain at all.
So a question like for when Mike Allen's
gets on.
When Mike Allen gets his computer issues.
You should text him. What the fuck?
I am going to text him, but we were just going, and I just thought, I assumed maybe he would get on, and then we would roll or not roll or whatever.
No, I'm just, this is all boilerplate. I don't even want to speak to.
I honestly, what I really thought was that like just texting him would like maybe add some stress or something like that, but like it doesn't matter, right? Like, hey buddy.
Oh my god, that was terrible. Can you hear me?
Hello,
okay?
Welcome to the Economy of Nothing podcast, Mike Allen. Where are you calling from? What's your name? Where are you calling
I'm from
a long time listener.
Hi, how you doing? This is Mike Allen, the man, the myth, the legend, here to tell you that fucking having to go through Google when you don't have your password book, it's just fucking
respect.
Terrible.
Sorry.
I did pass stuff. They put pass keys like, hey, how do you want to do this? Use a pass key first. Then I'm like, try another way. And they're like, but you could also use a pass key.
Yeah.
It's like, try another way. It's like, here's a pass key. And then the fourth option is send it to your telephone.
And you're like a landline?
Why isn't that the first option? Yeah, why isn't that the first option? It's just, that really fucked with me.
Well, welcome to the economy of nothing, buddy.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like, that doesn't encapsulate the nothingness of it all. Like, it should be simpler than that, right?
They just
like,
want to own your information.
Yeah, they are.
Like, it either can't be that important or it isn't that important, right? It's like this is too many steps if someone's trying to steal your stuff, and it's like not enough the other way, or vice versa, right? Like, this isn't a hacker could do this. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just annoying.
Dude, and also, didn't John McAfee die? This computer I haven't logged on in like a year, and I'm telling you, literally, like, one of the hardest parts of getting on to do this podcast this evening was just the McAfee symbol. Was like, people could have your fucking data. Just like every 4 or 5 seconds, just keeps popping up. And I'm like, geez, dude.
Well, also, they keep wanting to do like biometric shit these days, I feel. They're like, give us a scan of your eye, a scan of your finger, a scan of your social ID number. And I'm just like,
send your DNA to 23andMe, you fucking moron.
Let me get a scan. Let me get a scan of that brown hole. You know what I'm saying?
It'd be funny.
What am I hearing?
Oh,
I don't know. Guys, I listened to last week's episodes, and I gotta say, I was great. I'm probably.
Oh, really? That was your note? That's
yeah. Yeah, I had a good time listening to myself.
Well,
I think others would enjoy me too. So,
well, that's the hope.
And you guys were great.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure.